horn from the parking lot calls us to awaken God. How will God find us when he comes?
Awake and ready.
And when he asks us to dedicate ourselves ever more perfectly to him, how will he find us?
Awake and ready.
Divine Mother,
Divine
Heavenly
Mother,
Father,
Heavenly Father,
friend, beloved God,
friend, beloved God,
great Master,
great Master,
Jesus Christ,
Jesus Christ,
Babaji Krishna,
Babaji Krishna,
Lahiri Mahashaya,
Lahiri Mahashaya,
Swami Shri Yukteswar,
Swami Shri Yukteswar,
Paramahansa Yogananda,
Paramahansa Yogananda,
saints of all religions,
saints of all religions,
we humbly bow before thee.
we humbly bow before thee.
Bless and guide our lives,
Bless and guide our
that we
lives,
may realize
that we may realize
our path home to thee.
our path home to thee.
And as we receive your blessing,
And as we receive your
make
blessings,
us your ever clearer channels
make us ever clear
to share your light,
to share your
your
light,
divine blessing,
your divine blessings,
your energy and joy
your energy and
in
joy
this world.
in this world.
Om. Peace.
Peace. Amen.
Friends.
Peace gave us the mountains. Peace gave us the sky. Nightly when starlight enfolds us, peace is its lullaby.
Continue to meditate as you listen to these words on our affirmation for this week, self-confidence. Self-confidence, as it is normally understood, recalls to mind images of army generals and cowboy heroes, people in short short who know their blacks from their whites, but life's alternatives are usually much more complex. Self-confidence on the spiritual path is of another order altogether. It means confidence in the inner self, not in the ego. It means living from within, living by truth rather than by opinions. It means living by what God wants, not by what man wants. Thus it means living by faith in the sure knowledge that although man is fallible, God is infallible. Now let's affirm together first in a strong voice, I live in the assurance of God's truth within.
I live in the assurance of God's truth within.
In my inner self.
In my inner self.
And not in the opinions of others.
And not in the opinions of others.
Lies true victory.
Lies true victory.
And now in regular speaking voice, I live in the assurance of God's truth within.
I live in the assurance of God's truth within.
In my inner self.
In my inner self.
And not in the opinions of others.
And not in the opinions of others.
Lies true victory.
Lies true victory.
And now in a whisper, I live in the assurance of God's truth within. In my inner self. And not in the opinions of others. Lies true victory. And now silently, but with the deepest focus, I live in the assurance of God's truth within. In my inner self, and not in the opinions of others, lies true victory. And once more, mentally broadcasting it at the point between the eyebrows, I live in the assurance of God's truth within. In my inner self, and not in the opinions of others, lies true victory. And please pray silently with me. What matter if people blame me? Of what importance is their applause? I live to please thee, Lord, confident that when thou art with me, I am protected, though it be from an enemy horde. Om. Peace. Amen. Good morning, friends. Happy Sunday. Welcome to those joining us online. I'm Dharmadevi, and this is Narayan, and I'm reading to you from Rays of the One Light weekly commentaries on the Bible and Bhagavad Gita by Swami Kriyananda. This is week 39. Many are the pathways to truth. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. On the dedication page of Swami Kriyananda's book, The Path, appears the following account. A group of Paramahansa Yogananda's disciples had gone with him to see a movie about the life of Gyandev, a great saint of medieval India. Afterwards, they gathered and listened to the master explain certain subtler aspects of that inspiring story. A young man in the group mentioned another film he had seen years earlier in India about the life of Mirabai, a famous woman saint. If you'd seen that movie, he exclaimed, you wouldn't have even liked this one. The guru rebuked him, why make such comparisons? The lives of great saints manifest in various ways the same one God. The Bible contains a similar account in the Gospel of St. Luke, chapter 9. And John said, Master, we saw one casting out devils in thy name, and we forbade him, because he followeth not with us. And Jesus said unto him, Forbid him not, for he that is not against us is for us. The more central a truth, the greater the number of contexts in which it can be applied. Truth is like a pure white light, containing within itself the full spectrum of the rainbow. Let no one tell you what your path to God ought to be. Many are the paths. Select your own according to the dictates of your own nature, no matter how out of step that puts you with other people. Sri Krishna in the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita states, trying even unsuccessfully to fulfill one's own spiritual duty, dharma, is better than pursuing successfully the duties of others. Better death itself in the pursuance of one's own duties. The pursuance of another's duties is fraught with spiritual danger. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Om, Om,
Good morning, friends. I'm going to close with the Whispers from Eternity today, rather than open with it for a purpose that I hope presents itself. I was thinking about this topic, and I stumbled upon a cartoon that I shared with a few people yesterday, so forgive me if this is a repeat, but it was really a fun one. There's a man in the dentist chair, and the dentist's there too. And the patient says, "Excuse me for being so nervous. This is my first extraction." And the dentist says, "Relax. It's my first extraction too." It actually relates to the topic today. Many are the paths, true. Because we can't, one of the great inhibitors to finding truth within ourselves is tension. You know, I remember when I used to work in New York City, and you know, New York is similar to LA in that there's a lot of people, but it's in a much more, you know, smaller area, right? It's more like sardines. And so I used to commute to work, you know, I would take it was like planes, trains, and automobiles. You know, you get in the bus, and then you would walk, and then there was like this sort of herd rule that, you know, 4 people would wait, and you would all get into a cab together, cab share, you'd ride up, and then you would take the subway and the PATH train back. It was very New York. It was fun. But this one time, I remember I was coming back from work, and I was getting on the bus at Port Authority, and the woman in front of me, everyone gets shuffled on, and then I was about 2 people back, and the bus filled up, and the conductor was stopping more people from getting on, and the woman in front of me was really eager to get on to get home, you know, for work, and he started to say, "Relax, lady," and she kept going. He's like, "Relax, relax, relax!" He screamed, "Relax!" So the Swami had that same experience when he was in Italy. He didn't fully know Italian yet. He was starting to lecture, and he was guiding people in meditation and feel the peace. And Swami had this like smooth, you know, liquid voice. You've heard it, and the translator was "Sente la pace." And Swami finally said, I must learn this language. What we're all trying to learn is the language of inner peace. You know, it's saying that truth is one. Every week we read it. Truth is one and eternal. Our friend Madhurita, a number of you met her yesterday at the movie screening, and her daughter's name is Eka, and in Sanskrit, ek is one. You know, truth is one. There is just one truth. There is just one God. But no one can tell you how you come to that realization of that one truth. That is something, you know, there's a difference, Swami makes it clear in this reading, between dogma and dogmatism. Right? A dogma is a definition of spiritual truth. It's then that when we take that truth and it becomes narrow, and we become a bigot, and that's the only way, right? I told the story the other week. Some of you weren't here of the polite proselytizer I saw in Koreatown, who's just had this T-shirt, and on the back of it it said, "Please don't go to hell." That's when you take a truth right to an. That's where dogmatism begins to creep in. So what is the way out for us? Because it can happen. Oh, now we're spiritual, right? We're yogis. It doesn't make us any more special. Sectarianism and dogmatism can creep in anywhere. So we have to be on guard. We have to hold a vigil in that sense. And one of the best ways is to be attracted. That's really what Krishna's name means on a deeper level, is that attraction to the infinite. I had this experience a couple weeks ago. It was, it's simple, but God is simple. And I was out of my conscious left brain mind for a moment through the grace of God, and there was a flower, and there was a red rose in our home where Dharmadevi and I live. And I was looking at this rose for a moment, and I just had that aha moment. It's like, oh my God, the rose. It's the spiral stairway of wakefulness, of wakeful love for God that Master talked about. The rose, he said, is the highest astral flower that comes into manifestation in the physical world. And just looking at the rose, I realized I had never actually paid attention to a rose or really looked at it. And I noticed that the petals were in the form of a spiral. You probably have noticed that. I hadn't. The spiral stairway of wakefulness. And it's fascinating, because I became fascinated with this pattern in spirals, and mathematicians talk about the Fibonacci sequence, or perhaps if you're a mathematician, George knows this, the golden mean for his high school students, right? And they also call it the golden mean. It's a mathematical equation that shows that spiral pattern known as the golden mean, and also the divine mean. Mm-hmm. And that pattern in the rose, in the galaxies, in our own human DNA, is a pattern towards the infinite. Mm-hmm. Isn't that inspiring? That, in other words, the conch. Yeah, the conch, that's why they blow the conch, which represents Vishnu, which represents Krishna, the eternal, the infinite. So what is God trying to tell us? Divine Mother is trying to tell us that all these reminders of our own infinite nature, and that nature comes not through the outer dogmas. They can help start us and get us in a direction. This is why Swami Vivekananda said it's a blessing to be born into a religion, but it's a curse to die in one. Right? In other words, you need that platform of the truth and of that direction, but it's meant to so that you expand your consciousness like the rose, that you grow, that it wafts this fragrance towards the infinite out of it. It's not to keep you bound within it. It's not the us four and no more, right? Like I had that experience growing up Italian. It's very, everyone, we're kissing, you're hugging, you're smacking each other, you're cursing at each other. But it's meant to not, that familial warmth isn't meant to keep you enclosed. It's meant to expand you out, to help you realize that it's not just about your earthly family. Right? When in the movie last night at the answer, when Swami came to Yoganandaji, came to Master and said, "My father's coming." "So you have no father?" Master said, "Excuse me, sir, my earthly father." Our parents and our family and our friends are meant to help us expand our consciousness. Now, how do we do that? Well, today is Lahiri Mahashai's birthday.
Oh.
So let us take a page out of, let us take a page out of Lahiri Mahashai's book. And what is what is his book? It's the spine. You know, we talk about books, right? They having a spine. We're Suryani, right? Spine out, face out. We have our books are in the boutique or face out, but your spine, right? Lahiri Mahashai was a flower, right? The spiritual renaissance in Varanasi, Banaras, the city where he lived, it began. Lahiri met Babaji. He had that touch, right, of the infinite. The Guru awakened the faggots of his God yearning, and it began to smolder, and it blazed into a fire of bliss, and he awoke, right? Lahiri woke up to his memory of being a great yogi and a great avatar. But when Lahiri came back, and then Babaji said, no, your role in this life is to be in the world, is to serve as this example, right? Like the rose, being in the world but not being touched by it, exuding this fragrance that even when you're crushed like a blossom, it still exudes fragrance. And so that's what Lahiri's example was. He would go to work and he would still live this ideal example of the householder yogi. And he would just sit in his parlor room. And if you've been to Varanasi, there's these little windy lanes, and it's just you would never know. But he just exuded this fragrance, this innate glory, this silent spiritual magnetism that began to attract, just like a flower attracts bees to itself. Lahiri began to attract devotees, right? Sincere devotees to him. And they began to sip at that nectar. And it awakened within them their own spiral stairway to wakefulness. It's even the eyes, you know, and the human are a part of that almond-shaped eye that they have of art in India, Krishna, like you'll see that Krishna in the back. That's an expression of that infinite, that golden mean. You know, everything is trying to, Divine Mother is trying to remind us. That's why Master said, if you read for an hour, right? Write for 2 hours. If you write for 2 hours, think for 3 hours. And if you think for 3 hours, meditate all the time. You say proportion your life in that way. To first, you read the book of nature. And then you start to read the book, you start to realize, oh my God, it's the book of my own divine nature within me. And that book is a page turner. It's a page turner unto the infinite. So I want to close with Master's poem, God, God, God. I invite you to meditate with this feeling in your heart. Feel like your heart is that flower. If you like the rose, or if you have another favorite flower, and feel that you're offering it up to God at the feet, just like we sang that chant, at thy feet, that the flowers of your heart are moving inward and upward to the point between the eyebrows. From the depths of slumber, as I ascend the spiral stairway of wakefulness, I will whisper, God, God, God. Thou art the food, and when I break my fast of nightly separation from thee, I will taste thee and mentally say, God, God, God. No matter where I go, the spotlight of my mind will ever keep turning on thee, and in the battle din of activity, my silent war cry will be, God, God, God. When boisterous storms of trial shriek, and when worries howl at me, I will drown their noises loudly chanting, God, God, God. When my mind weaves dreams with threads of memories, then on that magic cloth will I emboss, God, God, God. every night, in time of deepest sleep, my peace dreams and calls joy, joy, joy. And my joy comes singing evermore, God, God, God. In waking, eating, working, dreaming, sleeping, serving, meditating, chanting, divinely loving, my soul will constantly hum, unheard by any, God.